Okay, let's dive deep into Jeremiah chapter 29.
Right. This is a truly remarkable piece of writing.
It really is essentially a letter, isn't it? Sent from Jeremiah in Jerusalem.
To the Jewish people already taken into exile in Babylon by Nebuchadnezzar.
Sets the scene immediately. They're already there.
Exactly. And it wasn't just anyone. The text mentions, surviving elders, priests, prophets, a lot of the key people.
It sounds like a significant chunk of the leadership and skilled population.
It was. King Jehoiachin, the Queen Mother, officials, leaders, even craftsmen, artisans. A real brain drain and community disruption.
So they're in Babylon, uprooted, uncertain.
I can only imagine. Disoriented, probably desperate for some word, some guidance.
And somehow Jeremiah gets this letter to them from Jerusalem. That's quite a distance.
Well, the text tells us he used messengers, Elasa and Gemariah.
Okay.
And interestingly, they were actually part of an official mission. King Zedekiah, still ruling back in Judah, sent them to Nebuchadnezzar.
Ah, so Jeremiah piggybacked on an official delegation.
Seems like it. A clever move, maybe a bit risky, to use the king's own envoys to deliver this prophetic message.
Okay, so this important letter arrives. What's the core message? Because honestly, it feels quite unexpected.
It absolutely is. You'd think the advice might be, lay low, wait for rescue.
Right, keep your bags packed.
But no, the Lord's commands through Jeremiah are surprisingly proactive about establishing life there.
Yeah, this is where it gets fascinating. The instructions are so concrete. Build houses and settle down.
Settle down. Not just camp out. Put down actual roots in Babylon.
And more than that, plant gardens and eat what they produce.
Invest in the land. Become, somewhat self-sufficient. Engage with the place.
And maybe the most striking part for people torn from their homeland. Marry and have sons and daughters.
Find wives for your sons and give your daughters in marriage.
So that they too may have sons and daughters.
Oh.
Increase in number there. Do not decrease.
It's a direct command to, build families, build the community, ensure continuity in exile. It's planning for the long haul.
This completely cuts against just waiting passively, doesn't it?
Totally. It reframes your whole situation. Don't just endure, actively live. Create a future right where you are, however difficult.
And then the message goes even further, something really challenging.
You mean seeking the peace of Babylon?
Exactly. Seek the peace and prosperity, the shalom of the city to which I have carried you into exile.
Pray for the well-being of the city that conquered you, the city of your captors. It's radical.
And they're told explicitly, pray to the Lord for it. Why?
The reason given is starkly practical. Because if it prospers, you too will prosper.
Wow. So their own welfare is directly linked to the welfare of Babylon itself.
It raises huge questions, doesn't it? About how you live as a minority, maybe even an oppressed group within a larger society. A call to contribute to the common good.
Not just because it's nice, but because your own flourishing depends on it too.
Yeah.
It's a pragmatic theology.
You could put it that way. Very grounded.
So settle in, build, multiply, work for the city's peace. But it's not all positive instruction, is it? There's a serious warning.
Oh, absolutely. A very stern warning against deception coming from within their own ranks.
Right. Do not let the prophets and diviners among you deceive you. Do not listen to the dreams you encourage them to have.
People claiming to speak for God, right there among them, in Babylon.
And God's message through Jeremiah is blunt. They are prophesying lies to you in my name.
I have not sent them, declares the Lord. Plain and simple.
What kind of lies do you think were circulating? What would people in that situation want to hear?
Well, the most obvious thing, surely, is a promise of a quick return home. This won't last long. Pack your bags, we're leaving next year.
Which directly contradicts the build houses and settle down message.
Precisely. Undermines it completely. And Jeremiah even names names.
He does. Ahab, son of Kaliah, and Zedekiah, son of Mosiah. What was their specific deal?
The text is harsh. It says they've done outrageous things, including committing adultery with their neighbors' wives.
So not just false prophecy, but moral failure tied up with it.
Right. Living in a way that totally contradicted the God they claim to represent. And speaking lies in his name.
And their predicted fate is grim.
Extremely. God says he'll hand them over to Nebuchadnezzar himself.
Who will put them to death before your very eyes. And specifically,
Burned in the fire.
yeah,
A brutal public execution.
meant to be a clear sign, no doubt. Their names even become a curse.
Yeah, the Lord treat you like Zedekiah and Ahab. It shows how notorious their end would be. a terrifying warning about the seriousness of false prophecy and leading people astray.
Okay, so amidst these practical instructions, these warnings against false hope, Jeremiah does give them something concrete to hold on to, a time frame.
Yes, this is absolutely crucial, the timeline for the exile.
When 70 years are completed for Babylon, I will come to you and fulfill my gracious promise to bring you back to this place.
70 years. You have to let that sink in.
For many hearing that letter, that's more than a lifetime.
Exactly. It meant the promise wasn't necessarily for them personally, but for their children, maybe grandchildren.
It confirms the settle down message, doesn't it? This isn't ending soon.
It absolutely does. It forces a generational perspective. Hope is real, but it's distant. It requires trusting God over a long period.
And right after dropping that 70-year bombshell, we get some of the most famous, most quoted verses in the whole book.
For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord.
Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future.
Even in the midst of this long, difficult exile, under judgment, God reaffirms his ultimate good intention for them. It's the anchor.
But it's not just a passive promise about something God will do eventually, is it? It seems tied to their response.
Very much so. The verses immediately following make that clear.
Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you.
You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart.
I will be found by you, declares the Lord.
So the fulfillment, the hope, the future, it's connected to them actively turning to God, seeking him wholeheartedly during this difficult time.
Their seeking enables them to find God and experience the promise.
Exactly. And the ultimate outcome of that seeking and God's plan is the restoration. And will bring you back from captivity.
I will gather you from all the nations and will bring you back to the place from which I carried you into exile. The full reversal.
The complete restoration. It's the light at the end of that very long 70-year tunnel.
So a clear, though difficult path for the exiles. Settle, seek the city's peace, beware false hopes, seek God, hold on to the long-term promise. But the letter also addresses those who didn't go into exile, right? Those still in Jerusalem.
Yes, and the contrast is stark. He speaks about the king who sits on David's throne and all the people who remain in this city.
They're countrymen who escaped that first wave of deportation.
And the message for them is devastatingly different.
What's predicted?
Utter judgment. I will send the sword, famine, and plague against them.
And I will make them like poor figs that are so bad they cannot be eaten. That's a powerful image.
Of complete corruption, worthlessness, fit only to be discarded. They'll be pursued, made abhorrent, an object of cursing and horror everywhere they're scattered.
Total destruction and humiliation. And the reason.
Plainly stated, for they have not listened to my words, declares the Lord, words that I sent to them again and again by my servants the prophets.
They had their chance, multiple chances, and refused to listen.
And then there's that pointed little addition, almost a reminder to the exiles reading the letter, and you exiles have not listened either.
Oof, yeah, that lands hard. It underlines that the exile itself was a judgment on their past disobedience.
Exactly. They weren't spared because they were better, but within that judgment, God was offering them, the exiles, a path to future hope that wasn't available to those who remained in open rebellion back home.
Different responses to God's word leading to vastly different outcomes, even within the same overall judgment. Now, delivering this kind of message, long exile, pray for Babylon, Jerusalem is doomed, couldn't have been popular. Did Jeremiah face pushback from the exiles themselves?
He absolutely did. The letter itself reveals conflict with a man named Shemaiah the Nehelamite, who was there in Babylon.
Okay, what was Shemaiah doing?
He clearly rejected Jeremiah's message and was actively working against him. He started sending his own letters from Babylon back to Jerusalem.
Undermining Jeremiah from afar.
Right, and the text stresses he sent these letters in your own name, not the Lord's. He wasn't a true prophet.
Who did he write to?
Specifically mentioned is Zephaniah, a priest back in Jerusalem, basically the guy in charge of temple security.
And what did Shemaiah want Zephaniah to do?
He told Zephaniah it was his job to deal with any madman who acts like a prophet by putting them in stocks and neck irons.
He was calling for Jeremiah's arrest and punishment.
Explicitly. His letter asks Zephaniah, so why have you not reprimanded Jeremiah from Anathoth? And he even quotes Jeremiah's core message as the reason.
He has sent this message to us in Babylon. It will be a long time. Therefore, build houses and settle down, plant gardens, and eat what they produce.
So Shemaiah knew the message, rejected it completely, and saw Jeremiah as dangerous, someone who needed to be silenced. He wanted that false hope of a quick return.
And did Zephaniah act on it?
Well, the text says Zephaniah read Shemaiah's letter to Jeremiah.
Ah, so he alerted Jeremiah to the opposition brewing in Babylon.
Seems so. And this, in turn, prompted God's direct response concerning Shemaiah,
Another
a
judgment.
very specific one, because Shemaiah prophesied falsely, even though God hadn't sent him, and crucially, has led you, the exiles, to believe a lie.
The consequences were severe, like for Ahab and Zedekiah.
Similar in severity, focused on his lineage and future. The Lord declares Shemaiah will have no one left among this people. His
Okay.
line is cut off from the community's future.
And personally.
He will not see the good things I will do for my people. He's excluded from the promised restoration.
And the reason given for this?
Crystal clear. Because he has preached rebellion against me. Opposing God's true message and messenger was seen as direct rebellion against God himself.
Wow. Okay, so this one chapter, this single letter, it just packs in so much.
It really does.
You've got the practical, down-to-earth advice for how to live in a tough, unwanted reality. Then this challenging call to engage positively with, even pray for, the society that holds you captive.
Alongside that, the stark warnings against false, easy answers and the terrible fate of those who peddle them.
And the realistic, long-term timeline combined with that profound promise of hope, of a future, but one that's tied to actively seeking God.
And the contrast with those left behind, plus the internal conflict with figures like Shemaiah. It's incredibly layered.
It's not simplistic comfort, is it? It's demanding.
Not at all. It grounds them in the difficulty of the present while lifting their eyes to a distant but certain hope. It demands resilience, discernment, active faith.
It is incredibly relevant, actually, for anyone navigating circumstances that aren't what they planned or hoped for.
I think what really stands out is that tension. The command to be fully present, to invest, to seek the peace right where you are.
While holding on to a promise for a different future, maybe elsewhere, maybe just transformed.
Exactly. Living faithfully in the now, even a difficult now, while trusting God for the then.
So maybe for you listening, reflecting on this message to people in hard, unexpected situations, what does it mean for you today to seek the peace and prosperity of the place you find yourself, even if it's not where you ultimately want to be? How do you do that while holding on to hope for the future God has planned?
That tension, living in it faithfully.
Yeah.
That's something worth pondering, isn't it?